You're not good over here no more.
I'm always good there.
You got to check in when you come here.
With who?
With me? What you mean? With who?
I got to check in with you,
With me.
the Georgia boy.
Let me send this out on X real quick. Saying we're live. I bet folks been mad because we were moving the time around. It was my fault this week. I'll claim the blame on this one. I'm in St. Louis right now. SZA show tonight. You already know what time it is.
What venue is she going to be at?
She's at Enterprise Center. So they were at Blues, and SZA tonight. It's lit. Just got back from a little brewery tour at Budweiser here. It feels weird because like KC and St. Louis, like they're cousins, but like they're cousins who like, they keep each other at an arm's distance. You know what I mean? When's the last time you were in St. Louis?
I was actually there this summer.
Okay.
Yeah, you know that. I was there for the young alumni for Lincoln. Remember?
That was in St. Louis?
Yeah, it was in St. Louis. Yeah.
I figured it would have been at Lincoln, right?
I mean, most of the alumni are from St. Louis. So.
Okay. Got my message out on X here. This is Chiefs Coast to Coast episode 59 here on the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network. Mark Gunnels is out in LA. Aaron Ladd is here in St. Louis, as we mentioned, going to a concert tonight. Been enjoying the arch and all St. Louis has to offer. Steven Serta is behind the board as we break down another Chiefs win here on Chiefs Coast to Coast. It was a little bit closer than maybe some had imagined, but Kansas City pulls one out against the Minnesota Vikings. We'll talk the good, bad, and the ugly from that game as Travis Kelce kind of guts through an injury in that matchup. Justin Jefferson leaves early with an injury. We'll talk, of course, that one. Then we'll look into the grab bag, what's left on the cutting room floor from the Chiefs this week as we get ready on a short week for Thursday night football. Mark Gunnels, man, what happened in Vegas? Do you want to talk about it?
We'll talk about it at the end of the show. It's not the Vegas segment right now.
Mark Gunnels is hoping to rebound. It's hoping to rebound this week.
Those 0-3 weeks just hurt, man.
Especially when you promised everybody that you were going to get back to 500.
I was doing good, man. It's just it's okay. We'll bounce back.
NFL is so hard. Like, I want to give you your flowers here for a little bit before I do the opposite of that. I want to give you your flowers a little bit. NFL is hard to gamble on, man. It's really no rhyme or reason. Like, you can see patterns the whole year long. Things can be trending one way, and yeah,
It's tough. But anyway, before we get into this stuff, the fact that you're in St. Louis, I know you're blasting Sexy Red, right? You're blasting that
Sexy Red. Is Sexy Red in St. Louis?
She's from St. Louis.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know she's from the Lou?
I got onto her Instagram story recently and was a little surprised by the content that I saw.
She's from the Lou, bro. She be repping it hard.
I was at Mizzou LSU this past week, last Saturday, and that warm-up song came on. Both teams, both Tigers, they heard that. It was so maybe she'll make a guest appearance. So like SZA is from St. Louis as well.
Yeah.
And I've been kind of thinking that, maybe since it's the hometown show, maybe she'll bring out some special guests with her.
You never know. You got to keep us informed.
The special guests here on Chiefs Coast to Coast are always you at home, the listeners, the family, the fans, whatever we call y'all. We can't have this show without y'all. And there's a couple ways that y'all can chime in with us. 816-514-1267 is our voicemail line. We got multiple voicemails this week, but only got room to squeeze in the best. So keep bringing those voicemails every week. Love hearing from y'all. We've been getting a lot more engagement, especially at halftime of the games. This week was no different. So we'll play a voicemail this week on the pod. There's another way to chime in with us. It's hashtag C2C, wherever you're tapped in with us, YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook. We got a couple people already in the chat. Daniel Berry says, yo, Gary says Chiefs fans are the best fans and the envy of the NFL. This is the golden age. Jeremiah says Chiefs. All right. So if you're tapped in with us, let us know where you're watching from. Let us know if you're a Sexy Red fan or maybe what your favorite SZA song is as we get rolling here on Chiefs Coast to Coast, episode 59. Let's hop right back into the recap.
Mahomes avoids, throws. He's a magician.
Chiefs recap.
Chiefs win. That's 4 in a row, Mark Gunnels, since dropping the opener to the Detroit Lions in the NFL kickoff game. In week 5, it was a 27-20 win over the Minnesota Vikings. Patrick Mahomes goes 31 of 41, 281 passing yards with 2 touchdowns and a 109.9 quarterback rating. As far as the receiving is concerned, it's Travis Kelce. All eyes on him after he kind of slips on the turf a little bit. The Chiefs are calling it a low ankle sprain, which I think is good news. On track to play this week on the short week against Denver, but his stat line against the Vikings was 11 targets, 10 catches, 67 yards, and a touchdown. I want to start with something that we led off with when we previewed this game, Mark Gunnels. I told you they could not let Justin Jefferson beat them. And they did exactly that. I think Kansas City has a very, very serious case to say they have the best cornerback duo in the National Football League after holding the league's premier wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, to just 3 catches and 28 yards on 6 targets. Yes, I understand he left the game early, is on injured reserve now, but before that, there were still points in time where he was extremely ineffective. Mark Gunnels, when you look at what Trent McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed, and the entirety of Steve Spagnuolo's unit was able to do against Justin Jefferson, what do you see and what do you say about their performance in week 5?
I mean, it's been a trend this whole entire season. If you look at it from week 1, even though they lost that game, they held St. Brown to his lowest yards per target rate of the season. And they've done that to every single wide receiver one they faced this year. Week 2 against Calvin Ridley, shut him down.
Yeah.
Week 3, DJ Moore, shut him down. Garrett Wilson had his worst performance as far as yards per target rate. And then obviously Justin Jefferson this past week. So they're kind of getting that reputation. Remember when we always used to say about the Patriots and Belichick, he's always going to take away
the thing you do best, essentially.
Best. I think we can kind of say that with this Chiefs team and Steve Spagnuolo now, in this defense, this secondary, man. You got one of the arguably maybe the best cornerback duo in the league with L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie. I mean, it seems like the national attention is really starting to get on McDuffie now. You hear people doing the broadcast.
It took long enough. He's been PFF's number 1 corner all year long. It took him locking down Justin Jefferson for people to actually give him the
you gotta look up the best receiver in football for us to actually think you're legit or not. It's crazy, right? But I'm really happy to see him get his flowers in. I mean, once again, I think it all comes back to Brett Veach. The way he's able to evaluate defensive backs. I mean, we always talk about Trent McDuffie, obviously, and Sneed, but even like Josh Williams, the Watsons of the world, you guys you got in later rounds that are still producing on a Super Bowl caliber team that just won last year. And all these guys were rookies. Now they're in year 2 with the ultimate confidence of having to go through that deep playoff run last year. So I think they have another level to reach too as far as the defense overall, because you got a guy named Charles Omenihu who's coming back after.
I saw his little hype up video.
Yeah, he's been waiting. He's like a lion that's been in the cage, just ready to get unleashed, man. So he's coming back at a perfect time against the Chargers next week. So that'll be a good game for him to get acclimated. So I'm excited for this defense. And you got Nick Bolton coming back. I know we're gonna get to the injury report, but he's gonna play against the Broncos this week.
Not just McDuffie, not just Sneed. Obviously, they deserve a lot of credit, but this defense, a defense that we said in the past, has kind of had the history of starting slow. They have not done that this year. They hit the ground running. 1 game without Chris Jones didn't necessarily matter. He gets another sack in this game as well. Let's hear from one of the captains on the defense, Justin Reed, talking about the job that they accomplished on Sunday against Justin Jefferson and that Vikings offense.
I mean, it's a tight-knit group, man. We have a lot of trust in each other to go out and perform.
LJ, Trent, Mike, Cooks. I mean, all the guys, Jalen, Josh, that come in. There's a very high level of confidence that we built through training camp right now. And it's the same thing I'm going to say. Like, we believe in each other and we believe in the scheme, and we go out there and we perform and execute. So it's been going well right now. We got to keep doing that.
Steve Spagnuolo preaches two things on defense, and he told the media this last week. 2 C's, chemistry and confidence. No matter what happens throughout the game, he wants his defense to keep those 2 things throughout. And I thought they played extremely confident against Justin Jefferson, and the chemistry that they've shown coming off a Super Bowl win, Mark, this is the strong point of this Chiefs team through 5 weeks.
Yeah, and I think that's a good place to be at, considering you still have the best quarterback in the league, probably the best play caller in the league in Andy Reid, and the best tight end in the league in Travis Kelce. So if there was one unit that I think is going to be able to turn around and get things going, it would be the offense. So I would prefer it to be this way versus the opposite.
Yeah.
Like I said before, you got a guy named Charles Omenihu coming through after this game, and I think he's going to be a real impact guy. I mean, imagine the defensive front you can have with him, Chris Jones on the inside, Karlaftis on the outside, and FAU on the other side. I mean, that has high potential of being a very, very dangerous front when all 4 of those guys are rolling. And they've all shown flashes, obviously, with FAU in there every now and then. George Karlaftis getting a lot of pressures. So if you're a Chiefs fan, you should be very, very excited about the trajectory of this team, considering how good the defense has looked early on. Like you mentioned, normally they start off really slow and they get things going on later in the season. But I still think they have another level to reach, which is also very, very exciting.
James Johnson Jr. is tapped in with us on YouTube, says, let's go, fellas. The defense played nasty last week. Just didn't like the unnecessary flags. And it feels like penalties have kind of been a theme throughout the year for Kansas City. This isn't something on our show sheet, but worth mentioning. 10 penalties for 86 yards in the win over the Vikings. Gotta clean it up. I know you tweeted or
posted on X. I'm sure you're about to mention the Jawan Taylor.
I know you posted on X that Jawan Taylor had.
Oh yeah,
yes.
Funny how you didn't mention that in our rundown. I should have added that in there. Funny you don't want to talk about it when it's not a problem, but you want to talk about it when it is.
Okay, but I mean, like, Jawan Taylor didn't have a penalty, but like they still had 10 penalties for 86 yards. Mark,
but did we not argue last week that how long will this Jawan Taylor thing be a thing? And I said it would not be a thing that much longer, and it's already starting. So we cannot ignore that, because you were very adamant about thinking this is going to linger on throughout the season.
Yeah.
And the fact that he had no penalties in this game, I think, is a good sign for things to come. That I think whatever that weird thing was going on the first few weeks, I think it's past now.
I said this to Jawan himself, and I'll say it again on this platform. A lot of the things that he was being flagged for are like subjective calls, like the false starts and the alignment things. Like one ref may see it one way and one ref may see it a completely different way. So while one week I see him as having a clean game, it really only takes, and that's not his fault. Like I'm not holding him accountable. Really, it's the gray area with the league. Like it sounds like the fact that there is so much gray area, like it kind of leaves it up for interpretation. Whereas, some refs see it some way, some see it the other. Obviously a positive. I want to give him his flowers.
And watch, as I put my foot in my mouth, he's going to get penalized tomorrow night against the Broncos multiple times for it.
The next thing on our list is the Kelce injury. I don't know if there's a lot here. Obviously, we know how much he means to the offense. I thought when he went down, there was a clear, like, they're not as talented. And the defense is not as threatened by an offense led by Noah Gray, Rashee Rice, Sky Moore, and Isaiah Pacheco without Travis Kelce. I talked with Justin Watson on Zoom after the game and just asked him, like, what does the offense gain from having to play through that? And then also, what does the offense gain from, like, seeing him come back, seeing him gut through that, get the touchdown, obviously. And, I mean, to call this guy a leader, Mark, I think might be an understatement. to be honest with you, like he is the heart and soul of what they do on offense. Like, I think it might be even like, I don't even think it's hard pressed to say he might be more so of the heart and soul than Patrick Mahomes. Because
I wouldn't go that far.
What Kelce does, and like Rashee Rice has talked about in practice, saying like, Kelce is such a mental lead, like the same thing that Frank Clark was to George Karlaftis his rookie year. Travis Kelce is to these young receivers. Just because they don't play the same position, don't get it twisted as far as like Travis Kelce being a big impact on that room. And the fact that he was able to come back, low ankle sprain, it did not look good. I saw multiple people saying and doing their analysis, like major injury, whatever.
A lot of doctors out there.
A lot of ex-doctors. The fact that he came back, gutted through it, got the touchdown, it re-injected life into Kansas City's offense, which we both agree is still trying to find its footing here through 5 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, there's no denying the impact that Kelce has on this team on and off the field, just throughout the week as well. Like the preparation, that's the things that we don't see behind the scenes, the film room, the guys in practice, giving the young guys little tidbits and nuggets here and there. Those are the things that the average fan isn't able to see, like an Aaron Ladd when he's there with 41 with his camera. He gets to see all that behind the scenes stuff that we don't get access to. So we have to rely on him posting on X, But yeah, I do think definitely at halftime there was a lot of nervous fans out there, man. It wasn't looking good. He was walking very gingerly to the locker room, and a lot of ex-doctors out there were making their proclamations on what the injury was. And then he came back in. I was shocked to see him actually come back in the game. I thought even if he was fine, quote unquote, I thought maybe they would have shut him down and, just kind of play the safety game there. But he came back in, got a touchdown. He looked pretty good. And it's on a short week now, and it looks like he's going to play, which, I'm always more on the era of more precaution, especially in a short week and you're playing the Broncos. I think you could still win that game without him. But, you're not going to tell Travis Kelce not to play a football game. So he'll be out there most likely. But, yeah, he's definitely, you're talking about one of the greatest tight ends of all time. So there's no underselling his impact on this team. But I would pump the brakes a little bit on saying that he's a little more important than Patrick Mahomes or whatever you were trying to allude there.
Yeah, that could be up for debate. I think specific to his impact in the pass catcher room, and we talked about how important that unit has been going into this year. And I think when Pat tells you something and when Trav tells you something, like I think it resonates differently. Obviously, they're both extremely they're leaders and they have roles and that kind of thing. But when I see Pat, I think management. And I've said this on this platform before. I don't think Trav, while he is kind of in that crust, I don't know if he's necessarily management to kind of this new group. And I think that I just think his role is extremely important. Quite officially listed as questionable. We'll get into the injury report a little bit later, but I think we're both on the same page about him suiting up and playing on short rest Thursday night against the Broncos at home. It wouldn't be Chiefs Coast to Coast if we didn't talk about the wide receiver room, episode 59 here on the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network. And I think we've talked about the wide receiver room on 49 of the episodes, if not all 59. I want to grill you before we get some sound from QB1, because one of your worst takes to date, and we've called you out on this on 610 Sports Radio. I'm on the drive every Tuesday with Carrington Harrison. If you want more Aaron Ladd in your life, we had I wasn't on this Tuesday because I'm in St. Louis, but last time we were on, we grilled Mark Gunnels on his Sky Moore love, and it's getting uglier for Sky Moore. 2 targets, 2 catches, 11 yards in the win against Minnesota. And it's not just specific to Sky Moore, because once again, Travis Kelce paces all pass catchers in targets and receptions by a wide margin. 11 targets, 10 catches. The closest to him was Kadarius Toney with 6 targets and 5 catches with just 26 yards. So, Mark, we're 5 weeks into the season. This is a unit that we've talked about so much that like my mouth is starting to bleed and I'm starting to get sick of it. But where are you at with the wide receiver unit right now?
So here's the thing. They don't know where to put these guys in the right position. They're all over the place.
That's fair.
And I truly think Sky Moore is being misused. And it's not to try to defend him or anything. I'm just being objective because most of his snaps are on the outside. I was under the impression that he was going to be a slot guy.
Yeah. His size kind of tells you that he's going to be a slot guy.
But they've been using Rashee Rice more in the slot. And credit to him, he's getting the targets and taking advantage of it. But it's easier to get targets when you're in the slot because you're closer to the quarterback. Like, this is just common sense stuff.
The progressions and the
hard-nosed X's and O's here. You're close to the quarterback. It's easier to get you the ball when Sky Moore's on the outside. So it's tough, man, because Sky Moore, he knows the playbook more than Rashee Rice. So that's why you put guys on the outside more, because it's more complex, if you would.
Do you think Mahomes trusts Rashee Rice more 5 games into his career than he does Sky Moore?
I think he trusts whoever's in that position in the slot more. I don't think it's necessarily a name thing, because we saw last year when Sky Moore was exclusively in the slot. Remember that Chargers game you was out here in LA when they were down like all receivers?
Yeah.
And Sky Moore was operating mostly in the slot.
Played well.
He had 6 catches in that game.
I think that might have been his best. That probably was the best game of his pro career.
Oh, 100%. He had 63 yards on 6 catches in that game. I remember one play when he sauced up Derwin James, one of the best safeties in the league. So I think it's more of a position thing than actual I trust this guy over this guy more. I think it's about the placement of where they're at on the field. And, people aren't going to hear that because they're just going to see the production. But I do think it's more complex than just that. I think it's really a positioning thing. And like you're even seeing it like with Justin Ross, right? His snaps are being taken from MVS essentially. And I think Justin Ross has way more upside than him, but it's kind of like a seniority thing, right? MVS has been here. He's a veteran. He knows the playbook more. So it's like a lot of overlapping guys in the wide receiver room where it's hard to really get set on just 3 or 4 guys that you feel comfortable in, because there's so many moving parts. And we didn't even mention Kadarius Toney, who was a guy that people were talking about should be wide receiver 1 over the summer. So
I don't think he's healthy. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I saw his feet recently. They don't look good. There's professional athlete feet, and then there's like feet that aren't all the way there. Let me get on Sky Moore a little bit more, because this is a guy that you said was, and I hate to hammer you this. I like hammering. I like getting you on this, but I don't want to seem like I'm picking on Sky Moore. But this is there's a legitimate question on whether or not Kansas City has developed a true wide receiver in the time that Andy Reid has been in Kansas City. For Sky Moore, the numbers this year: 9 catches, 123 yards, 1 touchdown. For his career, the 2 seasons or the season and a half, 31 catches, 373 yards, and 1 score. Those are all regular season numbers. Obviously, we know he scored in the Super Bowl on the corn dog play. Mark, that is unacceptable for a 2nd-round pick.
Yeah, but like I said, I really think he's being misused. I truly think it's a matter of misusage here, and I blame more the coaching staff for that. Like, everybody says he kind of reminds me of Julian Edelman. He could be like a Julian Edelman type. Do you know where Julian Edelman played? In the slot. He was not on the outside like he was a 6'3", 6'4" receiver and is going to just beat guys and get jump ball opportunities. Like, he was in the slot, a little quick twitch guy, 3rd and 5, middle of the field, move the chains. That's how I thought Sky Moore was going to be used, and he hasn't been used that way. So it's easy to ride on him. I get it, but I mean, I don't know. How much more do you expect from a guy that is out of position?
Well, I guess I'll just you can Venmo me for the gates, or you want to just wait until the season goes final. Like, how do you want to square up?
Oh, I'm milking this thing till week 18, baby. Yeah, I'm not giving up on a bet in week 5. Are you kidding me?
Think Through Tactical is rocking with us on YouTube. Says more Watson, Rice, Ross, and Tony. Speaking of Rashee Rice, he finds the end zone in the win over the Minnesota Vikings. And to me, this is my eyes. What do I know? Just a local sports reporter covering the world champions. I think he is Kansas City's best wide receiver as of this very moment, as of this recording. Quarterback 1, Patrick Mahomes, was asked about Rashee Rice and his development early in his career. This is what he had to say.
He's doing a great job of just being in the right spot at the right time. I think that's the biggest thing. He plays hard. He plays fast. When he gets his opportunities, he makes the most out of them. And so he'll just continue to learn. I mean, if you look at the touchdown that we had, I mean, the one before, I wanted him to go over the top, which we didn't teach that. So it was kind of one of those things, a veteran-type move, and he saw that. He learned from that, and the next play, we got a coverage that we weren't expecting to that play, and he was able to still win and be there at the right spot. So it's just learning on the go, and that's what you have to do as a rookie in this league, and he's done a great job of it.
When I think of Patrick Mahomes trusting a receiver, he said it right there. Right spot, right time. And I kind of see what you're saying about, like, you know, it's about who's in that position, not necessarily the name. But through 5 games, I know he's had drop issues, especially in the preseason. Rashee Rice has been in the right spot at the right time, which is extremely important for a unit that is still trying to find their footing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about upside and physical attributes, I think he has the biggest potential, maybe outside of Justin Ross on this team. I like his yak ability. I like how he gets upfield. He doesn't have to dance around. He doesn't try to, go backwards before he goes forward. The guy goes, yeah. Shout out to D-Rob. He goes straight ahead, man, and he's really, really physical. He's a physical wide receiver. I can see why you see some of the comparisons. I think this is still kind of best case scenario, but people compare him to DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh,
maybe a little. You haven't seen that one?
Yeah, I think he is their Sammy Watkins now.
Sammy Watkins.
Yeah,
like that's fair.
I mean, D-Hop is an evolution of that, obviously, but like
that's like the class A of that type of player.
The Pokemon is like an early stage, middle.
Yeah. Sammy Watkins is like the B level of like at his highest peak, right? So yeah, I can see that comparisons. But yeah, I like Rashee Rice a lot, man. And like I said before, we always talk about rookie wide receivers and Andy Reid's system not producing, and looks like he's breaking that curse right now, man. I mean, he could easily have 4 touchdowns. He has 2. But remember the Bears game, he was at the 1-yard line twice in that game, so he could easily have 4 touchdowns through 5 games right now. So he's definitely been a guy that Mahomes, outside of Kelce, is looking towards, especially in the red zone area.
Let's stick with the wide receiver room. The market is kind of opening up for the free agents and trade acquisitions. We got a voicemail about the wide receiver room. What a surprise. People want us to talk more about I think maybe one day here on Coast to Coast, we'll just do a full episode. On the wide receiver room. But before we do that, let's hear from a voicemail we got this week.
Hi. Well, the Chiefs, they need a new receiver, and who can we trade for? Who's in the market for one? Let me know. Thanks.
Short, sweet, to the point. I want y'all to start leaving your names, though. Like, if you're going to call in, take your day, you want to talk to Mark Gunnels and Aaron Ladd, at least let us recognize you and say thank you for calling in. Like, whoever you are, thank you for that. We're Chiefs wide receiver room.
Anonymous caller chiming in on episode 59
wants to know what the trade market is like as far as a wide receiver is concerned. And actually, I got something for you. So Chase Claypool was a name we mentioned on this pod previously. He's a Miami Dolphin now. That was very quick. The rich get richer down in Miami. But it sounds like the New York Jets are willing to make a move off a wide receiver they acquired over the offseason. Mecole Hardman, who has struggled to see the field in New York, is reportedly available. Would you be interested in his services? Yes or no? And if not, maybe give us a couple other names that you're potentially looking at if the Chiefs should be looking to trade for a wide receiver.
So here's the thing. Would I be interested in him? Sure. Not in a trade, though. He would have to be cut and released and me just sign him. But the only thing
you don't want to give up you don't want to give up anything to get him.
No, I don't want to give up any assets.
Yeah, I hear you.
But here's the thing. Who's going to get kicked out? You already have 7 receivers dressing. You're not going to dress 8. So
we don't have 7 because Richie James is on IR, right? Or
you're right. You're right.
I think Montrell Washington, the returner, may they have way too. Your point stands. But they already have way too many.
Regardless, who's going to be the odd man out as far as snaps if you bring McCole Hardman in the fold?
Yeah,
I don't know. Is it going to be? I mean, if it's Justin Ross, fans are going to lose their mind. So, I mean, that's the only thing. I just don't know if there's room. It's a very crowded room right now. I just don't see it. And he's not like a bona fide top level receiver to where it's like, okay, it doesn't matter who else is in that room because he's just so good. You have to make room for him. It's not one of those situations. But I will say this, and I'm glad we're talking about this because I do have an inside source. I want to review it right now.
Scoops. I'm not got some information for us.
I'm not going to reveal any names, though, but I do.
Aggregate him, please. Aggregate him.
I'm not going to reveal any names, but it's a very trusted source that's very, very, very close. I mean, I can't emphasize how close they are to
Wait a minute. So, and remember, folks, Mark Gunnels was in spaces with McCole Hardman. You know, there's a relationship. There's a relationship.
I can't emphasize how close they are to McCole Hardman. You can't get any closer. But he definitely wants to come back to Kansas City 100%. And he's hoping to come back.
Shit, Sherlock. Excuse my language. He can't get on the field with Zach Wilson throwing the football. Of course he wants to come back to Kansas City.
The source said obviously it's not in their control, but they're hoping and praying essentially that he comes back to Kansas City.
The Chiefs are not trading for a wide receiver, Mark Gunnels. And I think we kind of touched on this lightly last episode, but I want to make myself absolutely crystal clear. They have everything they need in-house. And when you're talking about bringing in someone from outside, not only are you talking about there being an odd man out, but you then are basically slicing opportunities in half for the guys that are already here. Sky Moore, a guy that we're talking about, needs every chance he can get on the field. You're not taking any snaps away from him. Rashee Rice is actively developing into your best wide receiver. Why would you stunt his growth? You had a chance to get Adam Thielen in the offseason. You had a chance to keep Juju Smith-Schuster. You had a chance to have McCole Hardman. You could have had McCole Hardman for a bag of balls, Mark Gunnels. The deal we signed in New York was nothing.
I ain't gonna lie to you, Aaron. I totally forgot about Richie James when you mentioned his name. I forgot he was a thing.
Like, I don't like. I hate being the guy that's like, they're 4-1, they'll be fine, but they're 4-1 and they'll be fine. They've gotten average to below average play out of their wide receiver room through 5 games, and they lost one of those games, which legitimately they could have won. Had Kadarius Toney caught some of those balls, they would be 5-0.
And that was without Kelce and Chris Jones.
So we kind of are nitpicking a little bit. I think Andy Reid was asked this specific question almost 2 weeks ago and said, no, we're good. We're fine. Like, y'all keep begging for Justin Ross to get opportunities. Bringing in another wideout is not going to help that.
No.
It's happening. Anything else on this before we move on?
I just want to say this real quick. It's kind of on topic, but a little off topic at the same time.
Yeah.
Remember when the Patriots used to be that team when they let somebody go? It's like, that's a sign. You better not touch them, right?
Yeah.
Because if they know something that we don't know.
Is that happening with the Chiefs now?
McCole Hardman can't play. Juju Smith-Schuster's knee about to blow out, allegedly.
Jesus.
Frank Clark apparently wants out of Denver already. I'm just saying.
We're in our grab bag right now. One more topic before we get to our Chiefs preview here on Coast to Coast. Mark Gunnels, Aaron Ladd, Steven Serta, episode 59 here on Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network. There's another call in this game that a lot of people like it was L'Jarius Sneed play where it was, I think originally there was an expectation that there would be PI or something like that. Here's what I'll say. Yes, he should have been flagged for taking his helmet off, but that did not impact the change of possession. If anything, that would have moved KC back, I think, half a distance to the goal.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of part of being the villain, right? Like when you become that team that everybody loves to hate, or as Mark Gunnels called them, America's team. When you have Patrick Mahomes and your tight end is dating Travis Kelce, and like fans are going to start.
You said dating Travis Kelce. I don't want the Swifties to be on your head. You know what I'm saying? I gotta protect you.
My bad.
You got your tight end dating Taylor Swift.
Well, you got your tight end dating. Was she at the game?
She was not in Minnesota. Nope.
Well, she skipped Minnesota. Why?
She skipped Minnesota, man.
This is a non-issue, man. The Chiefs are not favored. The Chiefs are not getting favorable calls. The Chief, like, he should have been flagged for taking his helmet off, but kind of similar to like we were talking about earlier, like refs have discretion to be able to say, like, the game needs a flag here. The game doesn't need a flag here. Like, there's a human element to officiating. Like, they're not robots. Like, I don't
know if you remember this from last year, the game in Denver, because this video started resurfacing. Remember when Jerry Jeudy was going off on that referee against the Chiefs, and he took his helmet off and he literally bumped the referee, and there was nothing.
I missed
called.
That.
There was nothing called, and nobody said anything about it. There was no uproar or anything. He literally had his helmet off and bumped the ref against the Chiefs, and there was nothing called. I'm gonna send you the video after the pod, bro. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is nothing. This is.
Are we gonna do this every week now? The Jets game with Sauce, now the Vikings. Like, what's gonna happen? Well, maybe this game won't be that close Thursday night, so it won't even matter. But we'll see.
Let's hop right into the preview then.
Stop it. Stop it. You can't do this. You can't escape. You can't make these plays. You can't make these throws.
Come on, give us a sneak preview.
Chiefs preview.
Hold on, we just got some breaking news. A couple minutes ago, Ian Rappaport just tweeted, Broncos running back Javonte Williams is off the report and will play. But meanwhile, pass rusher Frank Clark is out with an illness.
So we'll have to wait.
Heard that story before.
We'll have to wait a few more weeks for the Frank Clark versus the Chiefs storyline to come full force. Chiefs and Broncos facing off on Thursday Night Football. You can watch that on Amazon or in Kansas City locally on KSHP 41, your home of the Chiefs. Kickoff at 7:15. The 4-1 Chiefs facing off against the 1-4 Broncos. I think one of the biggest storylines coming into this, and we kind of teased this in the offseason. If you're day one Coast to Coast fans, we kind of gave our bold predictions coming into the season, and we were previewing some of the divisional matchups and how we saw the Chiefs matching up against the AFC West. And my bold prediction coming into the season was that the Chiefs streak against the Broncos, which currently sits at 15 consecutive wins, would get snapped.
Are you taking that back now?
I don't see it happening this Thursday. It ain't happening.
Okay, you're gonna take it one game at a time.
The Broncos, man, it's almost comically bad a little bit. Like, golly.
Yeah.
Like,
how could it possibly have gotten maybe even worse, right? Considering expectations, because you got Sean Payton now. Yeah. We got a real guy there at head coach, grown man. He's been Super Bowl champion. Second year, Russell Wilson in Denver. Maybe he settles in a little bit. He actually hasn't played that bad. Russell Wilson actually playing pretty solid. But
let me look up these numbers.
Yeah, he's actually not playing bad, bro. But their defense has regressed dramatically. I don't know where this even came from. This went from being a top 5 defense to a bottom 5 unit. in
Russell
one
Wilson's
season.
numbers: 67% completion percentage, 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns, 2 interceptions
Yeah,
through
he's
5
playing
weeks.
good,
Not
bro.
bad numbers, yeah.
Yeah, but their defense, I don't know what happened. I mean, giving up 70 points to Miami, gave up 30 multiple games. I don't know what it is. Now they're talking about Sutton is on the trade block. Jerry Judy's open to being on the trade block. I even heard some rumblings of Patrick Surtain II could be available for the right price. I mean,
Sheesh.
it seems like every week the Chiefs play a team that is in disarray heading into the week. I mean, remember the heading to the Jets game? No, we start off with the Bears.
Week,
Start with the Bears. That was a hell week for the Bears. Then the Jets. You had the whole Zach Wilson. He should be the starter? What's going on there? Should they bring a veteran in? Then you got the Vikings. Talks about Cousins. Should they trade him? Should they start tanking? And then now you got the Broncos with all these guys apparently on the chopping block. I mean, my gosh, the schedule couldn't have been much sweeter for the Chiefs to start the earliest part of their schedule, to say the least.
Let's look at the injury report. Remember, this is a different week. Thursday night football. They don't really, I mean, there's really one real practice, and it's on Tuesday. But for the Kansas City Chiefs, Travis Kelce, George Karlaftis, and Tommy Townsend listed as questionable. Townsend pops up with a left knee injury, was limited in practice on Wednesday after being not even on the report Monday, Tuesday. Could be something to monitor. The good news for Kansas City is that Nick Bolton registers a full practice on Wednesday, first full practice over the last 3 weeks for Kansas City's middle linebacker. He's on track to return after being a game time decision last week for the defense. Sounds like Travis Kelce's going to play. I doubt he is going to be standing on the sideline for this one. For Denver, we already kind of touched on it, but we'll just go back over it. Frank Clark is out. He has an illness, did not practice on Tuesday or Wednesday. Baron Browning and DJ Jones are also out for the Denver Broncos. What's the line on this one?
10.5.
You think KC covers? Well, is that one of your picks? I don't want to.
It's not.
All right, what you think?
But I do lean that way, but I'm not making that an official play. I mean, this Broncos team, man, it's a short week for both teams, but they're traveling to Kansas City. I mean, I will say this, though. This is like Sean Payton's Super Bowl, right? This is like, okay.
Why you say that? Because I feel like last week should have been his Super Bowl, considering all that smack talk that was talked between him and Nathaniel Hackett, and him calling like last week. Because Nathaniel Hackett was happy as hell when that game.
To his defense, though, I mean, they were in position to win that game, but Russell Wilson fumbled the ball away on the last drive of the game.
Why you say this is his Super Bowl going up against the Chiefs?
I mean, because if you watched him over the last couple of years with him on Fox, he's raved about how much he loves Mahomes. Like, he loves Patrick Mahomes. Like, so the fact that now he's the coach in that same division, I think is pretty ironic. But, I just think the fact that you're 1-4 right now, this team is not in a position they shouldn't be to tank. But if you lose this game, go 1-5, your upcoming schedule is pretty tough. The only thing is, though, you're stuck with that Russell Wilson contract for a little bit. And, I mean, if you get, like, the top pick, you get a Caleb Williams, right? You can't sit him behind Russell Wilson. So you're going to have to just eat that dead money. It's a sticky situation there, man. So I think this will decide what they do the rest of the season. If they come out here and somehow shock the world, you're 2-4, you can kind of trick yourself into thinking, okay, maybe we can compete for a wild card spot. If you lose the game, go to 1-5, then you may consider maybe bombing the season and tanking. That's why I say it's their Super Bowl, because I think it's an altering game for the decision-making in the front office for the season moving forward.
Let's hear from Patrick Mahomes about Travis Kelce and his ankle ahead of this primetime matchup on Thursday.
It's It's tough, man. That's a legendary type game. I mean, to be able to battle through that. I mean, obviously, I didn't see the injury live, so I didn't know how bad it was. But I'm looking back on it now and seeing how the ankle rolled, and then being able to come back out there and play at a high level and score a touchdown that we needed to win the game. It speaks to not only the talent that he has, but the toughness that he has, and that the reason that he's been out there week in and week out, because he'll battle through anything to go out there and play.
It wasn't clear before. It is now how much he really wants to be out there. Do you have any other stories about how much that means to him to be out there?
Yeah, no, I mean, even like this last when he had the injury in the practice, I mean, he was trying to play that game, and I remember after we lost that first game of the season, just texting him and just asking him how he feels, and he didn't even tell me how he feels. He just said, "There's no doubt I'm playing next week." So that was the end of it, and so he was playing. So that just speaks to the toughness and the mindset that he has.
I think he plays.
Yeah, I don't have any doubt that he's going to play. And I already saw, too, they were promoting the interview he's going to have Thursday night before the game, I think with Taylor Rooks. Don't quote me.
That sounds right.
I believe so. So I just think seeing all of that, I'll be shocked if he doesn't play Thursday night.
Let's get to Vegas.
Place your bets.
Oh, there it is. There it is. 2 touchdowns. Win by at least 3.
Let's go to Vegas with Mark.
Here we go. Here we go, buddy.
This doesn't do me any joy, man. I don't like seeing you. I don't like seeing you struggle.
I'm 0-3, bro. I was so close to getting back to 500, and then this week just completely bombed me, man. But it's okay. It's all right. It's all right. I got to keep thinking. I'm making 3 plays every game, Aaron. There's so many games left. There's so many games left, bro. Like, let's go. Let's get into it.
Mark Gunnels gives you 3 plays for every Chiefs game every week, and he did so last week. I hope you didn't play him. I hope you didn't play him. He went 0 for 3 last week. First play was anytime touchdown, Justin Jefferson. He was limited by Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed to just 28 yards, so that was a miss. Travis Kelce over receiving yards, 82.5. Another miss there. I believe he finished with 67 receiving yards and a touchdown on the day. That's 0 for 2, and then you took the over on total points at 52.5, and it was 47 combined points in the win for the Kansas City Chiefs in week 5. So a tough week for Mark Gunnels down in Vegas. 0-3. I believe that brings your season total to 5-10 on the year.
Rough.
It's been tough. Look, the way I'll say it, look, Mark, there's only one way to go. The only way to go is up, right? Only way to go is up. Mark Gunnels, what you got for us this week?
Let's get into it, man. I'm getting very creative this week.
Okay.
How about a Chiefs first quarter spread? -2.5. I think they get off to a quick start. I think they score early on. I think the Broncos offense will kind of stagger a little bit. I like Nick Bolton being back to give them that energy to start the first quarter. I think the Chiefs should at least be up by 3 points at the end of the first quarter. I feel pretty comfortable there. Second play, player prop. I'm going to a receiver. I'm going to your boy, Rashee Rice. I think he's still being undervalued a little bit on his yards. I got it at 29.5. I'm taking the over there. Yeah, 29.5. He's cleared that number in his last 3 games.
That's easy money.
Yeah, I think that's a really good play considering the chemistry him and Mahomes are developing each week. Yeah. And he's really good getting yards after catch. So while he's under 30 yards receiving, I'm probably going to take him every single week. And then my last play, I'm going to the Broncos side. Taking the over on Jerry Jeudy's catches. It's at 4.5. He's had at least 5 catches in the last 2 or 3 games. Last week he had 5 catches. I think they're going to really showcase him even more this week with all the trade rumors going on. I think they try to increase that value a little bit from a former first-round pick. So I could see him getting force-fed there a little bit. I think he can at least get 5 catches Thursday night in Kansas City. So those are my 3 plays. Chiefs first quarter, -2.5. Rashee Rice over on receiving yards at 29.5. and the over on Jerry Jeudy catches at 4.5.
If I had to put my stamp on one of these, I like Rashee Rice, man. I can't talk him up enough. 29.5 seems kind of low. He's one of Mahomes' favorite targets early in the season in 2023. Mark, you need a 3-0 week in the worst way, man.
Oh, man.
Another 0-3 week, and we might have to can the segment.
Bet the house on it.
Oh, let me scroll through the chat. Let me scroll through the chat real quick before I get out of here and enjoy the rest of St. Louis has to offer. Will Andy Reid ever call another quarterback sneak? That's from Jeremiah on YouTube.
Yes, in the most unexpected way in a playoff game.
I think it comes back again. I think, and Mahomes has been honest that he's been like really asking for it. Like he thinks that like, you know, they've done all the weird stuff by now. Like it's time to just get back to it. You know what would be weird though? You think they would ever do like the push, the tush push? Because a lot of teams are trying that now. Like I feel like every team has their own version of that now.
Maybe. I mean, because you got the Kelce brother that's orchestrating it in Philadelphia.
He told him the secret. Yeah, Jason told him how to get it done.
Yeah.
KL368 is pushing back on your Sky. More love says Sky is running half of his snaps out the slot already.
All right, man. Show me the analytics. All right, KL. My analytics do not say that.
You got a favorite SZA song?
Man, she has. I just love that Control. What's the Control album?
Yeah, Control album.
The whole album was fire to me. Like that was classic. I can't really pick like. I mean, obviously the Broken Clock song is like classic. You know.
I didn't know you were an R&B guy. I figured you were just like Rod Wave or.
I mean, Rod Wave is like R&B too, though.
Yeah.
Kinda. But no, I got soul, man. Hey, man.
Short week. We still gave you a Chiefs coast to coast. They'll play Thursday at home against the Denver Broncos.
Do we even recap this game? Because it's gonna be so far away.
It is gonna be a long time. Maybe we'll recap it. Maybe we won't. 2 straight division games in a row. Chiefs will play the Chargers in week 7. We'll talk about the Broncos shortly. We'll talk about that game. Hopefully, Mark Gunnels will be in a better place when we head down to Vegas next time here on the platform. It'll be
I'll lose my house pretty soon, man. Keep giving out losers like this.
It'll be episode 60 when we see y'all again. Steven Serta behind the board, Mark Gunnels, Aaron Ladd, Coast to Coast boys. We out.
See you next week.